And now, an exclusive sneak preview of a recent X-Talks webinar, assignment-free training, cultivating a training positive mindset.
So I admit, when I first started out, my approach was really to stress the importance of training only from an inspection readiness and regulatory compliance place, which is fine because we do need training for those reasons. But my approach was really relying more on scaring people into compliance, right? I was pulling FDA inspection documents and saying, look at all these 483s about training. This will happen to us if you don't do your training. I wanted people to take training seriously, but the end result was more that they took training to be unpleasant. And while they would finish it, it wasn't always on time, because why would you make something you don't like to do a priority? So we started wondering, how can personnel be encouraged to view training not only as their required assignments, which maybe are boring and time consuming, but something that they're motivated and excited to be proactive about? How can we shift from a culture of just compliance and mandatory training to something that's more positive? And we felt that if we could find the answers, that compliance would actually end up being the natural result rather than a tool being used to scare people into getting their training done on time. So when thinking about those questions, we formulated a goal. We want training that is no longer solely compliance focused, but is also, and I want to point out that I'm specifically choosing the word also there because compliance does not go out the window with this approach that we've taken, but it goes beyond compliance to also be about professional development, personal growth, curiosity, learning. So this dictates a change in terminology, which is nothing new. I think we all have been familiar with this. Instead of only referring to training as training, we really start talking about learning and development. And our end game is the culture where training is learner-driven, not just us training admins mandating assignments, because then learners are invested in their own development and they feel encouraged and empowered to be proactive about their training. So the plan we formulated with those goals in mind was first to add to existing training requirements so that the content can be more engaging and has more of a development feel to it. We also wanted to leverage self-enrollment functionality in vault training so that we can move away from assignment-only training. And we wanted to tie training results to personal and department goals. And just to make it easy, both for learners to access and complete their training, but also for training admins to manage it all. So we had this plan that, again, with the idea that on-time compliance should solve itself if learners look forward to training rather than viewing it as a chore. So now let's dive in and look at these 4 components. So to start, supplemental training. If we only look at training as compliance-driven, it often means the training only covers the bare minimum of what is required to meet regulations. So we want to provide our learners with the additional information they need to excel in their roles, and not just the role they have today, but also any future roles they aspire to. So we made efforts to ensure that our training program is not just limited to read and understood assignments on SOPs. To support this initiative, we want to be offering our learners training content that sets them up for success, is engaging and informative, and we want to encourage them to take advantage of external training opportunities. So training that sets them up for success is training that is effective, and effective training ensures the learner fully comprehends the content. And the best method we found to ensure comprehension is to supplement our read and understood assignments with secondary material. And you're probably thinking, but Grace, we want people to like training. How is adding even more training going to accomplish that? And we recognized early on that this was going to be a speed bump for us. So we've really been focusing on the messaging that this additional training, it will take more time to complete, but there is benefit to the supplemental training, and it's a valuable use of the learner's time. And this is actually where we found the micro-learning courses offered by LearnGXP to be super valuable, because we're able to add that supplemental material without adding too much of an additional time burden. And supplemental material is beneficial because it fosters just more engagement with the content, and our personnel can feel confident in their knowledge and empowered to do more in their roles. And when I was looking into those inspection documents to find ways to scare people into compliance, I also found regulatory evidence that the FDA and the MHRA are just not fans of training programs that are limited to only reading SOPs. So adding this supplemental content has multiple benefits for us. And let's be honest, simply reading an SOP is not very fun anyway. So while we want to ensure the content we offer is engaging, and for this initiative, we have been using a lot of different formats for training. We've done e-learnings, classrooms, demos, and more recently, we've even started using game-based training. For this, we have a system called Kahoot. That's an online learning platform that allows us to create learning games. And there's been a lot of positive feedback for this. The engagement, it's really learner-driven. And we've even had some department heads reach out to us to see how they can use it for all types of training, not just GXP and required training. We also want to provide learners with ways they can supplement their training based on their own interests. So for this, we ensure learners are aware of external training opportunities, all of which can be documented in Vault Training as part of their main training record. So for example, we have LinkedIn Learning. They can take courses on there. Some of them even offer certificates. They can attend webinars, go to conferences, and all these external training opportunities are often driven by the learner and not required in our training matrix. So these are not trainings we assign. They are trainings the learners are voluntarily taking for their benefit.
To view the entirety of this webinar, visit the link in the description and register on xtalks.com completely free of charge.